Cheerio! Welcome to Taylor's Trick Taking Table. I'm Taylor. And did you know it's actually really good luck to open an umbrella outside? A little fun fact for you. But before we go into the games we're covering today, huge shout out. I did an interview about Sail Legacy with Board Game Animal, Justin, and it should be up on their channel. It came out maybe a little bit ago. So much fun. So much. I could talk for hours about that game. But enough about all that salt. Besides, really quickly, I went to Barnes & Noble, and the Fellowship of the Ring was Game of the Month. Absolutely wild to see. What? So I couldn't believe it. It was another surreal moment of this wild journey to go into Barnes & Noble. You know, something I've frequented. I feel like Barnes & Noble is kind of a staple for people my age. It was just so much fun to go there and hang out, check out all the books growing up. And when they started covering more board games, I was like, oh, this is so fun. And so to have it be a Game of the Month game that I worked on is again, very surreal. But anyway, all that out of the way. What games are we covering today? Well, really interesting, actually. A couple of IP games. So I don't know if you heard about it, but Christopher Nolan is doing a movie called The Odyssey, and we have an IP tie-in by Gono, I believe, who has done Jekyll vs. Hyde and The Yellow House and a lot of wonderful two-player games. This is a 3 or 4 only. It's actually a really funny moment where I didn't know, and I just assumed, and I was talking to someone and they had it on their shelf, and I'm like, oh, well, you know, we can't play that game because it's only 2-player only. They're like, no, it's actually 3 to 4. So stepping out of the box, we love to see it. And the hook to this one, again, if you're familiar with the Odyssey, a movie that's going to come out soon, but it's also it was a book or actually Homer. It was a brought down tale, I guess. Yeah, was it a book? I don't know what I'm talking about. You get what I'm talking about. Oh, I'm going to look so dumb in front of all these people. You know what the Odyssey is. Correct me in the comments what it is. Please help. But anyway, it's based on the Odyssey, where you're trying to get home, trying to get back to Ithaca? I think Ithaca. And the hook, though, is you're trying to hit a very specific number of tricks, so kind of like Savage Bowl or Voodoo Prince. But so the hook is also that you will be playing from kind of a face-up offer. Everyone can on during a trick if they want to. In fact, everyone has to at least like a few times in the game. And whatever you play from that becomes trump. It's a super interesting concept. That is Odyssey. And we've covered a lot by Gono. And I think they're wonderful designers. So I'm super excited to cover this one. And then speaking of wonderful designers that we cover a lot, we have My Own Sunny Day by Masha Kamaro, which is, I think, the Weatherman IP. Interesting choice. But the hook to this one is you're going to play 2 rounds. And the first round, at somewhere along the line, you have to choose your own personal trump suit. It could be any of the suits in the game, but you can only have your own personal trump suit. So if I choose black, other people can't choose black, and if someone else chooses purple, like it limits it down. But what's interesting is you have to balance the number of tricks you take before you choose your private trump suit to the number of tricks you take after. So say I take 2 tricks, and then I say, hey, for the rest of the game, I have my own personal trump suit of black. Then I have to take 2 tricks after that. And I have like a stronger hand, right? Because I have a trump suit now. But the fascinating thing is in the second round, you're going to keep that trump suit and you start the round with it and a new hand of cards. And now you're choosing when to get rid of it. And you have to balance the number of tricks you take before you get rid of it and after. So it's kind of like this like wild back and forth. But that's My Own Sunny Day. And as you can see, I did not plan this, but the sun is now officially coming out right as I talk about My Own Sunny Day. So this is perfect. Anyway, that is My Own Sunny Day and Odyssey. Let's go to the table and I'll teach you how to play these 2 wacky games. The deck in My Own Sunny Day is a little strange, but it's 4 suits numbered 1 up to a certain number in each of the suits, and it's different per suit. So the purple kind of pink suit goes to 15, the black goes to 14, orange 12, and the blue 11. And how you can see that is that on each card underneath is a pip, and that dictates the number after 10 of the highest card in that suit. So as you can see, 5 pips here means that 15, because 10 plus 5 is the highest number. Whereas over here, 1 pip means it's 1 past 10. So the highest on that suit is 11. Here we have a game of My Very Own Sunny Day set up for 4 players. So if you're playing with 4 players, you're going to shuffle, deal the deck 13 cards each. If you're playing with 3 players, you're actually going to deal 13 each, but you're going to have some left over, 13, and those are just cut from the game. In addition, you're going to put these 4 cards with the suit symbols in the center of the table here. A game of my very own SunnyDay is played up if just 2 rounds or 2 hands. In the first round, you're going to be picking one of these as you play, which will become a trump suit just for you. And then after that, in the second round, you're going to have that trump suit and you're going to get rid of it at some point. So that's kind of the flow of the game, 2 rounds. The start player for the first trick is just random. Let's say it's appropriately this umbrella player here. You can play any card you want into the trick, and it is must follow. But I should say, I'm just going to show an example trick, but anytime if you have not picked your umbrella, or what that is your own personal trump, you can do that instead of playing into a trick. But for now, let's just do a really simple trick example just to show off that. So it is must follow. So coming to this player up here, the blue star, they're going to have to play an orange square. Same thing for this player right here. If no one has a personal trump and it looks like this, it's just a standard trick. The highest of the lead suit is going to win. So it's going to be this pink star player. They're going to collect this trick and then lead into the next trick. If at the start of the trick, a player has not picked one of these umbrella cards, which is going to be their own personal trump, they may do so. But an important aspect is you have to match the number of tricks you take before this decision, this pick, with the number of tricks you take after. So coming to this green star player, maybe they do want to pick a personal trump. They're looking at their hand and they don't have that many black suit. So maybe they take this one. But what's interesting is they don't have any tricks before this pick. And so they are going to hope to not get any tricks after this, so for the rest of the hand. But if you ever do take a personal trump, you are going to forgo playing into that specific trick. And multiple people can do it. So this green star player, they took that is their turn. So coming to the umbrella player, they could take one of these, but they're a little nervous of doing that. So they're just going to follow suit into the trick as usual. And then finally it's coming to this star, and that player is also a little nervous. So then again, the highest of the lead suit is going to take the trick, which is this umbrella player, and then they're going to lead into the next trick. When you lead into a trick, you can also take your umbrella. So maybe this player over here thinks they have one trick, and maybe they're only going to get one other trick for the rest of the game. They can, instead of leading into a trick, be like, you know what? Yeah, let's try to win with that orange. They're going to take this orange in front of them. So if a player, when they have the lead, decides to take their umbrella suit, then the lead will pass to the next player. And this player could do the same thing. This player could take one. This player could take one. It does say if everyone takes one, like the first 3 or the first 2 and 3 players does that, the last player does have to play into the trick, even if they could. But let's not go into that wild example here. So coming to this player, since the umbrella player up there decided to forgo playing, this player is going to play a 6 of black. So now it is still must follow. So coming to the pink star over here, they're going to play this. And coming to the green star, they still have to play a black if they have one. And sadly, they do still have one. I swapped the pink player's card just to show off. But what's interesting is that it usually is the highest of the lead suit, right? But if someone has their own personal trump suit into the trick, then they are going to win. So even though this is the highest of the lead suit at 9, this player over here, black suit for them is trump. So this 7 is trumping this 9. So then this player is actually going to win the trick and then lead to the next trick, which was unfortunate for them because they drafted their umbrella card here and they had no tricks at the start. So they wanted no tricks after drafting the umbrella. And so they're actually a little bit upset. They're not doing too hot here. So then maybe they lead this because they know this player over here, if they do have any orange, would have a trump suit. And so coming down here, same thing goes. And maybe this player over here decides to take this as their trump suit. So this too would win the trick for the umbrella person. So the umbrella person is in a funny spot because they had a trick before and now they have matched with a trick after. And so if they take no more tricks, they are perfect because they got one before, they drew their personal trump, and then they got one after. How we keep track of what a before trick is versus an after trick is you can either do like a horizontal or a vertical thing, or you could even just like put your own personal trump in between when you take tricks. So like if this person took 2, then took this, then they could put the rest onto the right, kind of like a timeline thing. It's pretty clear once you play. Jumping ahead to a later trick, let's say it was the umbrella player and they led with the blue suit. And so this player over here didn't have blue, so they played this card, and then these 2 players had blue and they followed suit. So this is a perfect example of how personal trump can work in the game. This player down here, their personal trump is blue. So this is an 11 in trump, whereas over here, this player, their personal trump suit is this pink purple. So their personal trump is 10. So this person is like playing a 10 in the trump suit kind of, and then this person down here but is playing an 11 in the trump suit. So this player is actually winning the trick because their number is higher than their person. If this player had played an 11 and they were the same, it's the later play that wins. So that first round is 14 tricks. That means there's 13 cards in each player. And then again, one time, each player is going to draft one of their own personal trump. And so that means every other player, would be playing when someone drafts. So that's 14 total tricks. If someone hasn't taken this yet and they go to play and they don't have a personal trump and they have no cards, then they will just take one, right? There is like a super rare occurrence where if nobody took one, and then the leading player, doesn't have any cards, and then they take one, and then take and take, you can get in a weird situation, I guess. But I've never seen that happen, and in the rules it says it really never would happen, so don't even worry about that weird edge case. Here we are at the end of the first round, and how scoring works is, again, you're trying to balance the number of tricks you take before you grab an umbrella and the number you take after. So this umbrella player over here took one, and then they grabbed this, and then they took another one later, and so they're perfectly balanced. So that would be 0 points for them. You want the fewest amount of points. Coming to this player here, they had 2 and 1, so the difference was 1, and you're going to times it by 10, so this player has 10 points. So 0, 10. Coming down to this player here, their difference is 3, because they took 0 and then they took 3, so they're at 30, so they're definitely losing. And if you take 0 on before and after, you get 1 point. So actually, this player over here is winning, so it's 0, 1, 10, 30. So that was the first round. For the second round, you're going to collect all the cards, but you're going to make sure not to collect everyone's personal trump. Everyone is going to start the second round with that personal trump in front of them. So the second round, the only difference is you're actually going to only be playing 13 tricks. And at the end of a trick, after it's evaluated and after the trick winner has been taken, you may return your umbrella and close it and lose that personal trump. But same thing applies. How the scoring works is the number of tricks you take before you return your umbrella has to equal the number of tricks you take after you return your umbrella. The start player for the second round is the player who took the last trick, but that's sometimes tough to remember. And so built into the game, they do have it to where you can say whoever took the blue is the start player for the first trick. That's pretty helpful and handy. So let's say it's this person here. You do have to at least play one trick before returning your umbrella. So maybe this player plays this down here. This goes like this. This player plays a black, and then this player plays a black. And what's interesting, again, since you start with your own private trump, this person is definitely going to win. And so after this, now players can return their trump, and multiple players can do it. It says if there's like a decision space where one player is waiting on another, you actually look at like the pips on the cards. So like this blue has 1 pip, so they would go before the orange player, or if you care about that. But so let's say this person only thinks they're going to take one other trick, then yeah, they're going to be like, I'm going to toss that back into the center. And so again, you can keep track of tricks before and after by having it be like vertical are before tricks and like horizontal are after tricks, or however you want to keep track of that. But that is how to play the second round. And you can return it any time. Like it could be after the end, because you still need to, again, have the same balance of tricks, but the same scoring applies. So say you took 0 tricks before and 0 tricks after that you return this, you would get 1 point, then you would get 10 times the difference. Then you're going to add up your score from the first round and the second round, and whoever has the fewest points is going to win. And if it's a tie, the player who did best in the second round, the return home round, will win. And if that's still a tie, then it is shared. And that is how to play my own SunnyDay. The deck in Odyssey is 4 suits numbered 1 through 10. Here's a game of Odyssey set up for 3 players. I'll explain how it's different at 4 as we go. There's only a couple changes, so it's not too bad. How it works is no matter the player count, you're going to shuffle the deck and you're going to deal 7 cards to each player, and then 4 cards as kind of like this offer row, and the rest of the deck right there, that's going to kind of refill the offer row as you go. Then you're going to have a score track that goes from 1 to 9, but it's this nice kind of view of Ithaca and Troy as you go. I'm going to move this off so just to save some space. Then each player is going to be given favor tokens depending on the player count. So at 3 players, each player gets 3 favor tokens, and at 4 players, everyone gets 2 favor tokens. And then for the first round, you're just going to randomly choose someone to lead. Let's say it's this red player here. And so how the game of Odyssey works is, depending on the player count, you really want to get an exact number of tricks. So at 3 players, you want 3 tricks, same amount as the favor tokens, which helps. And then at 4 players, you want 2 tricks, which at 4 players, everyone gets 2 favor tokens. So that's another great way to think about it. If you get that number of tricks exactly, you're going to move ahead on the score track that I moved out of the way, an amount forward equal to the amount of different suits you get. So I'll go over scoring later. Let's for now go into the trick taking. So it's random. Like I said, let's say it's the red ship over here. And how it works is in the game, you're going to play all of your cards, but you're also going to play a certain amount of times from this offer row. And how many times you do that is depend on the number of favor tokens. So at 3 players, you're going to do that 3 times. And at 4 players, you're going to do that twice. So at the start of every time you take your turn, if you have favor tokens, you can choose whether you want to play a card from up here or a card from your hand. Let's just do a super simple example of playing from your hand. So let's say this player led with helmet. This player up here is just going to pick their hand and they're going to follow suit with the helmet. And then finally, this blue ship player, they can't follow suit. So they're going to choose to play from their hand again. They could play from up there, but we're going to cover that later. So they just toss in an off-suited 10. So it's the highest of the lead suit is going to win the trick. So this green ship player is going to take this trick and then lead to the next trick. So then the green player is going to lead into the trick. Maybe they play this 9 and this like kind of green animal. So this player up here, again, they could play from their hand. And if they would, they could play either this 1, 3, or 8 because it is must follow. But again, you can always choose to turn in a favor token and choose to play a card from up here. It is still must follow. So this player up here, if they could follow suit from up here, they would. They would have to. So they would take this 10 and put it up here. And so maybe down here, this player just decides to follow suit, except they don't have that suit. So then they just play a 9 off suit. So again, the highest of the lead suit is going to win the trick. This blue ship player is going to win and then lead to the next trick. If a card or multiple cards was played from the offer row in a trick, you're going to refill that at the end of the trick. So right now you can flip over and you're going to get a new one in there. And then now the blue player would lead. So let's say the blue player plays this 8 animal suit, and coming to this player over here, they don't have that animal suit at all. So they just play maybe this like 10 of the attack sword suit. So coming to this player over here, they could, looking at their hand, play into this attack sword suit, but maybe they want to play the favor from the gods. So they're going to return this token and they're going to pick any card up here. And what's super interesting about this is when you play a favor from the god, you still have to must follow, but what if there's no cards up there to follow? So you can pick anything you want now. And when you pick anything up there, that is going to become the trump suit. So anytime you pull in a favor from the god, that is going to become the trump suit. So this player up here, if they pull in this pot card and have, say they play this pot card, they are going to win this trick because they had played a 2 of a trump effectively. But maybe getting spicy, they pull in this sword suit. That would make that the trump. So actually this player who was off-suiting will now be the one winning the trick. So let's say they did that. So this player over here now has won that trick. So then they will be leading to the next trick. And again, this always refills. If a player who has a lead decides to do that from the start, so maybe they do this, then this would be the lead suit and the trump suit right away. So coming up to this player here, maybe they just play from their hand, and maybe this player over here just plays off suit. So then this would win. It was the highest of the lead suit, but it's also highest of the trump suit. And I should say, trump is only for that trick. It resets every single trick. Jumping to a future example, if a player does not have any favor tokens anymore, then they have to play from their hand for the rest of the round. And vice versa, if a player has no cards and only favor tokens, then they have to play from up here in the offer for the rest of the round. So now let's get into another really fun example. So let's say this player led the 10 of the armor suit. They don't have any favors, so they can't even choose to go up there. But this player decides to play from up here from this offer suit, and they decide to play the 7 animals because they could play whatever they wanted because there wasn't the lead suit up there. So like we said, this determines what the trump is. So now this is winning, even though this is a 10, this is winning because it's trump. This player down here, they could play a blue if they have it. They could offsuit into the trump suit, but then lose, or they could offsuit a random card and then also lose. But they really want a trick. So what they're going to do is they're going to use a favor token. And how it works is if they pick this one here, if someone picks another favor token, it's the latest pick favor card from the offer that is going to be the trump suit. So even though that was the trump suit, once this player picks that card, this is now the trump suit. So they are now winning the trick. And the offer row will be refilled at the end of the trick, just like normal. So play like that continues for the entire hand. And now let's jump to scoring. So at the end of the round, you're going to see if the player hit a specific number of tricks. So at 3 players, you want 3 tricks. If you were under or over, you don't get to advance at all. And if you hit, like this player, so they got 3, you're going to collect all your cards. You're going to see all the different suits, and you're going to move that many spaces. So this player has a blue, a red, a green, but they don't have the pot suit. So they are going to move 3 spaces. They were the red player, so 1, 2, 3. You're going to keep playing rounds like that until someone hits Ithaca. And once they do, you're going to see who has the most points, and then that player wins. And if it's a tie, like multiple players hit Ithaca in the same round, the player who advanced the most in the final round wins, and if that's tied, then it's shared victory. And again, at 4 players, you're trying to hit 2 tricks exactly, but you do the same score calculation. If you got 2 tricks, like maybe this green player got 2 tricks at 4, you'll look through, you'll see, oh, I got, 3 suits, and you'll move forward 3 as well. Boop. And that's how I play Odyssey. Oh, so that is my own sunny day in Odyssey. Let's talk about these 2. I am pals with Mashikamaro, so take these final thoughts about my own sunny day with a grain of salt. He's the designer. And with that out of the way, we like his designs a lot, and this is no different. I love that idea of a personal trump. I might have dabbled in the past with some upcoming things, of including that in games. I think it's such a fun concept where someone's like, ooh, this suit is really strong for me. And what is great about this one is it incorporates it as like, what do you want your own private trump to be? And when do you want it to be? And then have that also mix in with the scoring. Super, super, super clever. I have talked before that I think bidding is a, sometimes tough thing for beginners, and sometimes it's very brutal. And I actually really, really like bid as you go. And that's essentially what this is, but tied into a really clever mechanism where your strength of your hand is tied to that. So it's just so clever. We covered Final Binary, and that has a similar thing where it's like bidding as you go, and the strength of your hand is tied to the bidding. And this has that as well, but I think in a much more smooth experience, and something that I think is a little more tailor-made to me, where everything is kind of simply tied together in a really, really fun way. I think, honestly, my only complaints about the game is the graphic design is indie, and also I understand why the suit ranks are asymmetrical. I think it's because when you have your own personal trump, it's nice to, like, the pink-purple suit is technically higher than, or it is higher than the other suits, right? So it's stronger. But in my experience, like, I think the confusion of the dots on the cards and, like, explaining that all kind of gets in the way more than, like, I think it adds. But maybe I'm missing something that it adds. But those are only, like, little rubs. Also, I think, like, or like, those are the rubs, but, like, things that I really like, back to the great things that I like about the game is, so like I said, bid as you go. But also, it's only 2 hands, which I personally love. I love a short game. But also, those 2 hands feel so different. And it's almost like this thing, I don't want to guess this happened, because I don't think this happened, but it'd be awesome if it did. When you're designing a game, you can have it go so many different ways. One of the awesome things about trick-taking games is, like, there's so many levers to pull, and when you pull one of them, it can make the game feel wildly, wildly different. So edge case, or kind of case in point with this game, he has the first round be, you start with no trump and then you take it, right? And then the second round is you start with trump and then you remove it. And again, I don't think this is what happened, but, like, the game systems are pretty close. And I could imagine, like, a game where it's like, oh yeah, you play 3 rounds, you start with trump, and you choose when to get rid of it. And you do that every round. Or the vice versa, where it's like, you play a round, you choose when to grab trump, and then at the end, when you reset for the next round, you put all the trumps back, you shuffle them your deal, and you do it again. But I think it's such an interesting design decision to be like, hey, you do 1 round where you grab trump, and 1 round where you remove, or you put trump back. And again, I've said it already a few times, don't think this is how it went, but I could see in a world where it's like, he was testing both versions, and he's like, what would be great for the game? Like, should it be, always taking it, and you reset that every round, or you always put it back? It's like, what if it was just 2 rounds, and you take it once, and you put it back the next? I don't know. I just love, like, there's times when I've been, like, designing and developing, and I'm just like, what is right? They both are so fun. And it's such a cool concept to just be like, what if you just had one be one round, one be the other? I think that just is like opening a tool in my brain. I don't know if folks like that. I haven't in this experience, when I've showed people the game, they've liked that in this game. But I wonder, like, what people think about that. I think that'd be kind of interesting. But back to this game itself, I think the scoring is absolutely wonderful. You're just trying to balance the tricks, and if you're off by 10, yada, yada, yada. I think it's really clever touch. to make it to where if you take 0 before and after your trump, you get 1 point. You don't want points. It's like a subtle way of being like, yeah, you can go for 0, and that's fine. And if you hit it, that's great. But it might be a little bit easy. So I'm going to make it worth 1 point. And then if someone actually takes a trick and then takes their trump and then takes another trick, then that's actually 0. So they technically did better than you. Really fascinating stuff. Yeah, and like both hands, they feel different. It's so wild to be like losing and then be like, I'll take trump, and then like start winning. We covered a game called Power Tricks by John Barron, and that has that idea of like, when do you take something that will like make your hand better in the middle of the round, in the middle of the hand. And that one had it like, it was just a rank that kept, growing. And so you had to kind of like upkeep, and there's a little bit around that. But in this one, it's just that simple premise of just like, oh yeah, I'll just take a trump suit. So I just love how clean this all is. Power Tricks is great too. Nothing against it. It's interesting to compare the two systems, and essentially they're both are just like making your hand stronger. And obviously Power Tricks does a bunch of different stuff with other different mechanisms. But I love how simple it is in here, where you're just taking that one trump. And then conversely, in the second round, I've messed myself up a lot, where you're taking tricks if you have your personal trump, especially if someone just leads it and you're just like, okay, I guess I'm winning this one. And so it's almost a fun level of like, when do you get rid of it? Because then you are just like so weak. When you lose your personal trump, you're just like, you feel drained. And maybe I'm imbuing some emotion, but I feel like that is like the best sign of a game is when it gets a little bit more animated, and like you feel it when when the mechanism changes, or like there's that shift, or like the hook really shines. Anyway, yeah. I think my own SunnyDay is a hoot. What a wonderful idea. Again, the only things are just like deck makeup and graphic design and stuff. But I hope this gets picked up. I hope folks play this, get a chance to dibble dabble, because I think it's a really fun time. Yeah. Okay. Going on to Odyssey. This designer, Goniel, I believe. I'm always bad at pronouncing the name. I feel so sorry. I feel so bad, and I am so sorry. They pretty much only do 2-player games. So I was really excited to see what this is and what this was. And I like it. I think it's a fun time. I think the mechanism I like the most, shout out to Jamie Stegmeyer, my favorite mechanism, is the fact that you have this offer row that when you take from it is trump, unless it's on suit. And the most recent person to take from it is trump. And everyone has to do this. It lends to a really fun splitting of hands. I've played games where like you have 2 hands and like that is kind of the twist, but now it's cool to have your own hand and then like a center hand that everyone can kind of play with. And I think there's like some fun things you can do. Like you can take a card off and make it trump, and then make someone else win a trick. There's some really fun twists in terms that you can do just that super simple element. So I think that's a really fun part of the gameplay. To the aspect of scoring, where you just want 2 tricks at 4 players or 3 tricks at 3 players. It works. It's totally good. I think it puts the game a little bit into like correct play mode that I don't love. It's not bad. Like the scoring and the 2 tricks and stuff kind of does that. But again, it's not too bad. And also there's some feel bad moments where, and I guess that makes sense, but it's like if you don't get 2, you're just like, okay. But in games like Boast or Nothing, or I don't think it's as extreme in Voodoo Prince, but when you mess up, you don't really score that much. But it's kind of brutal in this one. But back to that like rote play. So like on a super high level, you want 2 tricks only at 4 players, and you want them to have all 4 suits. So if you take a trick early where you're following suit and you get just like all of 1 suit, that's super bad. Ooh, boo. You can mitigate that a little bit, where I think if you're gonna win the trick, an early trick where it's like all of 1 suit, you should maybe at least use your favor token to like get a new suit at least. So then you have 2 suits. But sometimes you're just like, you play like a 5 and everyone goes under and you're like, oh man, okay. And so the game at the start is like more avoidance. And then with the tokens, since they're so powerful, people will like hang on to the tokens. And so at the end, it's almost like whoever has the hammer and tokens left will like then be, like getting some tricks and taking some tricks. So and maybe it's just the people I play with, or maybe how I play, but the game kind of has this very similar arc. Maybe I just expected it to feel more diverse and different, but it's kind of like, okay, avoid the first few tricks because they're not varied enough for you. Maybe try to win some tricks in the middle, and then save your tokens if you didn't get them, and try to win some tricks at the end. But then kind of like everyone does that. Again, It's maybe just my group. And I've tried to play where I'll use my first 2 Pantheon tokens, take some early tricks, try to split up those suits. So if 3 people play the same suit, I'll Pantheon to a new one. And then later on, I'll try to Pantheon into, at least one other suit. So at least I'll move up 3. And then I at least won't have tokens. So my hand won't be that strong and I can try to like slough. But that's a little dangerous too, because then you might just like run into random tricks during your must follow from your hand. So I don't know. I don't think it's bad. I think I was excited for the options of like the Pantheon in your hand and like bouncing around. But with the scoring incentive and the structure of the game, it follows a little bit too much of that familiar arc every single time I play. It's like avoid a little bit in the start, try to win later, but then you get like this like token, not hoarding, but you get this like token battle off near the end. It feels like if you ever watch like a NBA basketball game where you get into this rhythm and people are scoring baskets, and then at the very end, people are like doing intentional fouls to try to make people do free throws, so then they miss the free throw, so then they get a chance to go down and shoot a 3 and like catch up by a point, or like you're calling timeout to advance the ball, and then you're like it's just, there's a lot of like I think basketball, NBA basketball, as a metaphor, just like kind of slows down the game and it gets a little like, so that's sometimes how it can feel. Is like if everyone has a token in at the end, you're just like, okay, well, we already know that the hammer is going to just win. So I think just certain hands of this would be fun and dynamic in the middle. And then in the end, it just became like and again, maybe this is how we played. We were like token hoarders, but they're just so useful tools, right? But anyway, like so many hands of this and so many like final tricks of this would just end in like, okay, yeah, you're gonna win. Or like, yeah, no matter what we do, you're winning this. Or no matter what we do, like I'm winning this and I'm getting messed over. Like it was just like, I think it's almost because the game has like an open hand that everyone can see. It just lends to that idea of like players mathing things out, right? You're just like, oh, these are the cards that are there. You have those tokens. You have to play them. Okay, so you're gonna win this trick, and then like you'll win this trick. And I'm like, okay, I guess that's that. So I've talked in the past like how it's really fun to have hands of games that are like leading to a big crescendo or a big moment. And ironically, this one's big moment is in the middle, which is fine. It's just it wasn't as like too terribly exciting. And then I played the variant way to play. I don't know what it's called. I think it's Prophecy or something. And that one is you shuffle up the cards. I don't know if I taught this, but you shuffle up a 4, 3, 2, and a 1, 1, and you deal out randomly to everyone their bid. And so instead of 2 tricks at 4 or 3 tricks at 3, they get like a random one, and they don't reveal it. And they only reveal it when they hit it. So let's say I had 2 tricks. If I take a trick, I'm like, ooh, I'm not revealing. And then I take a second trick, I'm like, I had to, everyone, woo. I think it's a little weird. I only played a little bit, so take this with a grain of salt. But like, if you get a 4, that's tough, And the math is sometimes strange. Like it can be like 4, 3, 2, 1, or like 1, 1, 2, 3. So it's like a pretty, like a 3 trick, like little flippy floppy. And then also like it tries to balance out the hook of the game and the scoring, where it's like you want as many different suits as you can, by benefiting. If you get a 1, you just get like some more points because you have less suits. So kind of is like weirdly like removing part of the hooks of the scoring. So I don't know. I didn't love it. Maybe I got to play with it more. But the Prophecy didn't really quite do much for me either. So yeah, so that's Odyssey. Weird one. I think that open thing is clever. It's cool. It just leads a little bit to mathing it out, which isn't too fun in a trick-taking game. But it has some really clever things you can do with it, which is fun. And then that 2-trick limit and the scoring just kind of pushes the game into a little bit of like rote play for my group, or for how I play. So maybe this is a wonderful game. You might love this game. Maybe I just need to play it with different people, or I just need to play it differently. But that is Odyssey and my own very own, absolutely own SunnyDay. But thank you so much for watching. Melvin and me signing out from the couch.